So our next speaker leads the UK government's approach on net zero and the economic resilience that goes with it, shaping policy that connects sustainability with long-term prosperity. Please welcome to the stage, Justin Placide.
So I'm going to start with good morning, just to double check that it's definitely still the morning. So, good morning everyone, how are you? Good. This is what we want, some energy in the room. So look, I'll start off with, I did have some slides, but just because of the sake of time, I'll just go and jump straight into my speech. So look, I will start really at the beginning. So it's truly an honour, not only to have been invited, but also as well to speak to each and every one of you here. I've always looked at things like this as saying really clearly, some people look at these things as a summit or a conference or a gathering, but one, there you go. Okay, apologies. Lucky I didn't. Thank you for that, sister. So, this gathering is more than a conference. It's timely, it's significant, and as we sit in this room together, please look around you and see that this is a critical moment to reflect on how Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider global diaspora can shape a future that's sustainable, resilient, and economically vibrant. During the next 2 days, we're not just here to discuss investment or sustainability, and we're definitely not here to discuss it in isolation. We're here to shape a vision for development that is inclusive and aligned with our global, wider net zero commitments. When we speak about sustainability, investment and net zero, we're not just talking about these terms in the abstract kind of way. We're talking about the future of our homelands, the safety of our communities, the dignity of our people, and the economic opportunities available to our children and our children's children. Today I want to explore a couple of topics. So, net zero, development, and resilience. All of these three topics are deeply interconnected and why they must be pursued together, especially if we're going to secure that lasting progress. So what's the challenge? Across Africa, Caribbean, mentioned by some of our previous speakers, knowing that the people in this room know about this, climate change is not a distant threat. It's a daily reality. The challenges we face are always going to be deeply interconnected. Climate change is intensifying hurricanes, droughts, floods. In the Caribbean, we're hearing of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes, increasing in intensity and frequency. We've all seen the news and the media. We have families of Hurricane Melissa and what that has done to Jamaica. Some people have said, oh, it wasn't as bad. Well, we're not saying that. The wider Western media is saying, oh, it wasn't that bad. But if you think about it, there were families who could not connect with families. There were people who were seeing devastation on the news and could not even get in contact with their families overseas because the internet was down. And these are the kind of things where it brings, to me, even more memories of, because I'm Dominican, and I must remember to bring my Dominican flag if I get invited next year. But I remember watching TV with my mum when Hurricane Marina hit and the damage that it caused in Dominica. And Dominica isn't one of those countries that's a West Indian country that actually has a really strong tourism. Dominica is one of those kind of countries that really is, when they say third developing world kind of countries, it's one of those. So when that hurricane hit, I'll be honest with you, my mum was crying. I know a number of people were like devastated, but to actually see that the fact that the country is still trying to recover, and there's many other countries across the world that some form of climate crisis has hit them, and they're still trying to recover to this day. But also as well, like we can talk about the shocks that have disrupted the wider economies devastated homelands put more of an additional strain on public services, whether that's in East Africa, whether that's in West Africa, and because we have so much more information, we're more aware now than ever before of the devastation of climate change. And so because of that, the importance of talking about net zero needs to move from not talking, and I know a number of people have talked about policy, and you are right, the policy needs to change, but we need more about the action. We know as we are talking here, they are planning or already in the start of COP. But how many times all of those G7 leaders, how are they really thinking when it comes to our countries? And when they do think of our countries, is it about the aid, which has been mentioned? Is it about how they can profit? Or is it about how they can really guarantee us real independence by reparations, by understanding what they took from us, but are now saying that actually, well, we're a developing country, we're really high on our net zero emissions, we know what we're doing, but those countries are not. We are those countries. And why are we suffering while they're benefiting? Because of the resources that they took. Because of the communities that they broke, because of the wealth, because of the knowledge, because of the talent, because our people are looking and saying, well, we can't do the things that we want to do in our own home countries, so let's travel to other countries. But that means by those getting those opportunities, they are taking the talent and the resource away from the homelands. Now, at the same time, a number of these countries and regions that I'm talking about, because I don't want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom today, they're also as well moving forward with the limited resources to ensure that development is happening. So we are, you know, for those who know, we can see that there are work in expanding renewable energy access, infrastructure is being built, maybe not at the pace that we really need it to happen, but it is happening. Healthcare and education is slowly being strengthened. We are now seeing a growth of digital economies, and we are definitely seeing that regional trade is slowly improving. Now, hear the words that I'm saying. So even though they're beneficial, even though there are positives, they are not moving at a rapid pace. So by the time that those things really start benefiting, it will be too late. So it's important that all of us, whether you are policymakers, whether you are influencers, whether you are people in positions of power, that you try to encourage, you try to spread the news around what we need to do to move these things forward. Because development, as we all know, needs to be resilient. It needs to be grounded in sustainability. We don't want these things which become the flash in the pan kind of moments. Because if so, it risks undermining the very climate change challenges we are trying to overcome. Without sustainable planning, net zero pathways will stall under economic pressure. Without smart investment, inequality will widen and economic growth will falter. Without education and resource, how can we really ensure real independence? This is why we can't treat these challenges separately. Net zero, development and resilience must be interwoven together, intentionally and at pace. So when I talk about that interconnective sort of thread between net zero, development and resilience, let me highlight that these are not separate goals. They need to be connected because they need to each reinforce each other. So as mentioned by Michael, I'm involved in net zero. We've released a number of different strategies on behalf of the UK government. And being in those rooms and having those conversations, I usually am, surprise, surprise, the only black face in the room. And when I put up my hand and say, oh yeah, all of this is really good, But what are we doing about our cousins overseas? And they look at me and say, what do you mean cousins in? No, I'm joking. But look, let's be honest. There is some positivities. Africa, as mentioned, well, if you may not know, has 60% of the world's best solar resources, yet only 1% of global solar generation. Barbados has committed to 1,000 renewable energy by 2030. In the UK, we talk about bringing a clean energy superpower by 2030. So you can see the competition already. Who started that date first? That's what I want to know. But they're pioneering in solar rooftops, electric buses, and community microgrids. South Africa are positioning themselves as global leaders in green hydrogen, attracting billions in international investment. And Kenya is already a global leader in geothermal energy, with 80% of its power coming from renewables. These kind of stats you do not hear in the wider media. I've got 5 minutes, sorry. Okay, let me quick it up. So, development must be inclusive and people-centered. Development can't be measured by GDP alone. It must uplift communities and close inequality gaps. Across Africa and Caribbean and the wider diaspora, solar mini-grids are providing electricity to remote villages for the first time. Digital agriculture tools are helping farmers improve yields and connecting to wider regional markets. Women-led enterprises, and I'm going to make sure I let this know so I don't get cussed of not being focused on women as a gender, my sisters. But the enterprises in Ghana and Rwanda are empowering. They're empowering these communities, looking at ways that we can improve, like the clean cooking solutions and solar entrepreneurship. Also as well, we must not forget our young innovators across Jamaica, Nigeria, and Kenya are building startups in climate tech, fintech, and edtech. So alongside all of the news where we know is not as positive, I just wanted to use this position and this opportunity to share the fact that things are happening. And as I said, once again, it depends on all of us as how we can help share that information wider. And then finally, resilience. So it's not simply the ability to withstand shocks, withstand the latest climate change, it's the ability to maintain momentum. So let me share some examples of some things that are happening, even though, as I said, we know what's happening in other countries and never as positive due to the media that we're hearing. So Grenada has a climate-smart agriculture program, which is helping farmers shift from drought-resilient crops to reducing climate vulnerability while improving people's household incomes. The Bahamas, I don't know if any of you heard of the Coral Restoration Initiative, which is rebuilding reefs that naturally protect coastlines and support tourism. Cape Verde is developing floating solar farms to ensure that energy security, despite limited land space, is happening. So I want to remind people, just as 3 takeaways, net zero is not just a global environmental target, it is an economic opportunity, investing in renewable energy, clean transport, and sustainable agricultural jobs, which it's creating, which then means it reduces dependency on other countries' imports. Development, that must be more, as mentioned, about GDP growth. It must ensure social progress, access to opportunities, and the empowerment of communities, particularly the young people who sometimes feel like they are not part of the solution. We need to ensure that we include them. And then finally, resilience. It is a bridge between those two. Without resilience, any existing or estimated development gains can be lost overnight to those climate shocks, those hurricanes that I mentioned before. So without resilience, net zero pathways will falter in the face of political, social, and economic instability. So I would just like to end with thanking you all for your time for listening to me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the summit and get a chance to speak to you, maybe a few of you at lunchtime. Thank you.
I just said I'm so happy that Justin is in his job because I think it's such a powerful voice, but also to have representation there, to say that actually the Caribbean is represented, Africa is represented. It's very, very important because I used to work in government back in the day, and very interesting to see, you know, what the room looks like, and also what experiences people haven't had to know who to advocate for as well, you know? So it's really, really important that we have people in these high-profile jobs.